The eyes of Texas.
The great care at MD Anderson Cancer Center here in Houston spurred a few ranchers from way up in Albany to come up with an unusual way to put their horses to work raising money.
Polo is one of those carefully guarded secrets in this state. Few people even know it exists, but it does. It's been around for a number of years, especially out here on the prairie.
Of course, West Texas is always a great place to buy horses. There's many great horses out here. During World War I and even before, there was horses were sold to the Army, and when a lot of players, polo players from the East, were exposed to some of these horses, they began looking down here for polo horses, and they would bring carloads of horses back to the East to the polo clubs up there. And so it became pretty much a polo horse center.
Just about every major city in Texas has a polo club. Midland is the focal point in West Texas. It takes money to breed the horses and to train the people for the sport, and a lot of people in Midland have money. So it was fortunate in the 80s when Henry Musselman and some other people came up with a unique fundraising idea for MD Anderson Cancer Center. Henry's mother had received treatment there. Mary Ann McLeod of Easton was a member of the hospital board. The group decided to put on a polo match and give the proceeds to MD Anderson. The giving was nothing new. The people out here are very giving. But polo was something new.
It's kind of like all of a sudden you stumble up on the plains of India or something, and here's this polo field sitting out in the middle of just a pasture.
When he first mentioned it to me, we were riding in a pickup, and he pointed to this pasture, or the field where he had the coastal Bermuda, and asked me what I thought about doing a benefit for MD Anderson there. And I said, well, sounds great, but within my heart, I thought it sounded like an impossible dream. And but Henry is not only creative, he perseveres. And I have been really excited and delighted to see what that perseverance has brought. It's given pleasure as well as help to a lot of people.
This was the 5th year for the event that came to be known as Polo on the Prairie. It was planned by a 30-member committee from West Texas. The committee collects the money and also decides where the money goes once it reaches MD Anderson. Usually it winds up in outreach programs, parts of the system that are often overlooked. That very first year, they raised $25,000 for the center. Last year, they raised $100,000. All told, $250,000. And all this time, they keep spreading the word about polo in Texas.
Texas has some of the finest polo in the world, and we have some of the finest players in the world that come out here and play in this tournament.
Polo is not as new to Texas as we all think. Llano has the only museum we know of that has an entire display on the sport, with old equipment and wooden horses and pictures of people who have promoted it over the years. Actor Tommy Lee Jones sponsors polo matches every year at his Hill Country spread. Experts say he's pretty good at the sport, but not as good as Cecil Smith of Bernie in his prime.
I was raised on a ranch in Llano County, and I never knew anything about polo until about 1924. This friend of mine started polo before I did, Rube Williams. Told me, he said, if you ever hit that ball once and see it roll down the field, you'll be a polo player, and that's what happened to me.
Smith was playing polo till he was 65. Today, he just talks about it, but he still does some riding, even though he's 87 years old. Polo is not threatening to overtake football or baseball in popularity in these parts, but it is growing, and its players are determined to make it a recognized sport in this state. In the meantime, cancer research and cancer treatment in the state continues to benefit whenever these people gather to play their games on the West Texas Prairie.
Over the past 20 years, Polo on the Prairie has raised over $3 million for research and patient programs at MD Anderson Cancer Center. The Musselman Brothers Lazy 3 Ranch continues to host Polo on the Prairie each spring. I've been there. It's great fun for the whole family. For more information, visit click2houston.com and click on the Eyes of Texas. Up next, we visit a small town with not one, but two of the best barbecue joints in Texas. And later, we'll meet a man that lives to sing the blues.
This is a song they used to play back when I was a boy.